The twin sons of Tarsus IV beat down on the crumbling ruins of the old Confederation outpost. Smoke curled into the sky, carrying the scent of scorched metal and blood. Blaster fire echoed across the valley, sharp and cruel. Zara ducked behind the half-collapsed wall of a once great defense tower, her chest heaving as she clutched the wound on her side. Her armor, cracked and burning at the seams, barely held together. Her green skin shimmered with blood hers and her enemies. Her long braided hair was undone and filthy, falling over her shoulders in wild strands. She had been fighting alone for nearly 2 days. Her squad was gone, ambushed. The distress signal she'd sent, it had gone unanswered. She was on her last energy clip. Her body screamed for rest, but she refused to fall. The alien raiders were closing in 8 of them, maybe more. Rian slavers. They laughed in their horrible insect-like voices, clattering and hissing as they surrounded her. She heard them speaking in broken standard. Take her alive. Pretty, strong, good prize. Zara's hand shook as she raised her plasma rifle. Come closer, and you'll see how much fight I have left, she growled. They didn't stop. She knew this was the end. She had no more tricks, no more energy. Her knees buckled slightly. She forced herself upright, pressing her back to the jagged stone wall. If this was how it ended, she'd die fighting. Then she heard it. A loud crack. Like thunder, but the sky was clear. One of the raiders dropped, its skull torn apart by a projectile. Another shot rang out. Another raider collapsed. The rest turned, confused and shrieking. Zara blinked, unable to believe what she saw. A figure was walking toward the battlefield from the north slope, calm and steady, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing black armor lined with glowing blue threads. The armor was scratched and clearly well used. He held an old-style kinetic rifle, something out of human war history. And he was human. The Rayon screamed, firing their plasma weapons at the new threat. The bolts struck the man's armor, but they barely slowed him. He moved with perfect aim, taking down one target after another. 4 more shots, and 4 more slavers were dead. Zara lowered her weapon slightly, dazed. The last raider turned to flee, but it didn't make it far before a final shot punched through its thorax. Silence fell. The human approached slowly, lowering his weapon but keeping alert. Zara kept her rifle raised, unsure whether to trust him. Easy, the human said, voice calm but firm. I'm not your enemy, unless you plan to shoot the guy who just saved your life. Zara's breathing was shallow. You're human. What are you doing in this system? This is restricted Confederation space. The man smirked. He was close now, and she could see his face under the helmet's half visor he had. Sharp cheekbones, a bit of stubble on his chin, and clear, determined eyes. Name's Riker, he said. Freelancer. I got your distress signal. Figured I'd check it out. Good thing, too. Zara's strength finally gave out. Her knees buckled, and she slid to the ground. He moved fast, catching her before she hit the rubble. Whoa, easy, he said. You're hurt. I noticed. She muttered through gritted teeth. Riker gently laid her against the wall and pulled out a medical scanner. His touch was surprisingly careful for someone built like a tank. He scanned her side, frowning at the damage. You've got internal bleeding. Shrapnel too. We need to treat this now, or you're not going to last. Zara winced. You came alone. Riker nodded. No, back up. Just me and my ship, about 1 kilometer west. Think you can move? I can walk. She couldn't. When she tried to stand, pain shot through her entire side. Riker didn't wait for her pride to speak again. He scooped her up in his arms. "Me down," she said, trying to push away. "You're bleeding out." "Dignity can wait," he said flatly, already moving. Zara let herself rest against him. His armor was warm. So was his sympathy. Strange, but comforting. For the first time in days, she felt the fear begin to fade. "You're not what I expected," she murmured. He glanced down at her with a half smile. "What did you expect?" "I don't know. Arrogance, recklessness." "I have those too," Riker said, "but I've learned when to shut up and carry someone who needs saving." Zara allowed herself to close her eyes for a moment. She was still in pain, still uncertain, but something inside her shifted. For the first time since the ambush, she wasn't alone. And maybe, just maybe, she wasn't doomed after all. The inside of Riker's ship was surprisingly warm, not just in temperature, but in feel. The lighting was soft, the metal walls lined with personal touches or trinkets. Old books, photos that seemed out of place for a mercenary. Zara had expected something cold, clinical, brutal. Instead, it almost felt like home. He carried her through a narrow passage to a small medbay built into the side of the ship. As he gently placed her on the padded table, she let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. "You've done this before," she muttered, half delirious with pain. Riker nodded as he peeled back her cracked armor. "Yeah, too many times." Zara winced as her wound was exposed to air. The bleeding had slowed, but the damage was bad. Deep gashes, some dark bruising, and a fragment of something metallic embedded near her ribs. Riker didn't hesitate. He slipped on surgical gloves and grabbed a vial of clear gel from a shelf. This might sting. It didn't sting, it burned. Zara bit down on a groan, her claws digging into the edge of the table. Riker didn't look away. "You're tough," he said calmly, applying more of the regenerative gel. "Most people would be screaming right now." "Pain is just a signal," Zara said through gritted teeth. "We're trained to ignore it." He gave a small laugh. "Right, I forgot. You Novarians think humans are soft." Zara blinked. "You?" "No, my species. I read. I ask questions. I don't like surprises when I'm out here in deep space." She watched him for a moment. His hands moved with confident precision. Every motion was efficient, but not rushed. He wasn't showing off. He was simply good at what he did. When he finished cleaning the wound, he sat back and looked at her. "You're lucky the shrapnel missed anything vital. I'll patch you up, but you'll be sore for a while." Zara gave him a tired nod. "Thank you." Riker raised an eyebrow. "That sounded painful for you." "Don't get used to it." He chuckled and packed up the kit. "I won't." For a long moment, they said nothing. Zara lay still, letting the medicine work. Riker leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching. Her with something between amusement and curiosity. "You're not Confederation military," she said finally, "but you're armed like one." "I used to be," Riker said. "Didn't like the rules. Didn't like being told what was worth saving. And now I decide for myself." Zara looked at him, really looked. He was human, yes, but not the arrogant, reckless kind she'd seen in briefing files. There was a weight behind. His eyes experience, loss, maybe even honor. "I was on a mission," she said, slowly sitting up. Her voice was steadier now. "Recon, my squad and I were sent to investigate strange energy readings near the ruins. We thought it was some old power core, maybe scrap tech. Then we found the tunnels and the signals changed. That's when the Rian slavers hit us. Riker frowned. They're not usually interested in ancient junk. It wasn't junk. Zara's eyes met his. We found something. A device. My team didn't get a chance to study it, but I think it's progenitor tech that caught Riker's attention. He straightened. Progenitors, the ones who disappeared 1,000,000 years ago. She nodded. There are whispers in Confederation, science circles, that they didn't just vanish, they evolved beyond physical form. They left artifacts behind, and if this is one of them, it's worth more than any warship. Riker ran a hand through his short hair. No wonder they hit you so hard. I need to go back, Zara said, swinging her legs over the side of the table. That tech can't fall into enemy hands. Riker stared at her like she'd lost her mind. You can barely stand. I can walk. That's what you said before I had to carry you across a battlefield. She glared at him, but he didn't flinch. He walked over and handed her a water pack. You want to go back into the ruins? Fine. But I'm coming with you. I didn't ask you to. You don't have to, Riker said. Whatever's down there, it's bigger than both of us. And besides, he paused, giving her a small grin. You're not alone anymore. Zara looked at him, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, she took the water and drank. Her pride was still intact, but somewhere beneath it, trust was beginning to form. I hope you know what you're getting into, Riker. He smiled, already loading his rifle. I never do, but I survive anyway. The sun had started to dip behind the jagged cliffs as Riker and Zara approached the ruins. The wind carried dust through the empty remains of the ancient outpost, whistling like whispers of the dead. The planet was quiet now, but the silence felt heavy, like something old was watching. Zara moved carefully beside Riker. She was still injured, but the medicine had dulled the pain, and her pride kept her upright. She refused to be carried again. They reached the edge of the ruins, where stone met steel in twisted shapes. Strange markings covered the walls circular, symbols and glowing threads that pulsed faintly with energy. This isn't like any architecture I've seen, Riker said, running his fingers along the markings. It's part metal, part bone. Zara nodded. Progenitor designs often blended organic materials with tech. They believed life and machine were one. He turned to her. And you think the device your squad found is still here? I know it is. I scanned it before we were ambushed. The energy signature was unique, pure, and controlled. We barely had time to document it before the rayons hit us. They stepped into a large hall where pillars stretched up into the shadows. Riker flicked on his shoulder light. The beam swept across shattered crates, abandoned equipment, and what looked like a massive console built into the floor. Zara's scanner beeped softly. It's close, she said. Underneath this level, how do we get down? She walked to the console, brushing off dust and ash. The touchpad still responded, lighting up in soft blues and purples. She pressed a sequence. The ground beneath them shuddered, and a hidden platform began to descend. Riker raised an eyebrow. You sure you know what you're doing? Mostly, that's comforting. The platform lowered them into darkness. The air grew cooler. The glow of ancient tech pulsed around them, dim but alive. The lift stopped in a vast circular chamber lined with flowing, almost liquid walls. At the center was a pedestal. On it, a device. It was small, barely the size of a fist, made of metal rings floating around a glowing blue core. It looked like it was breathing. Zara approached slowly. This is it. Riker stayed a few steps behind. You sure it's safe? No. But it's real. It's untouched. I think it's still active. She scanned the artifact, watching as the screen showed impossible data. Life, signatures, neural patterns, energy cycling in perfect balance. Riker moved closer. What does it do? No one knows exactly. Some believe progenitor, tech reads. Consciousness, it might enhance abilities. Others say it can merge with living tissue. Sounds dangerous. Only if misused, Zara said, her voice soft. But in the right hands, it could change everything. They stared at the artifact, in silence. Then Riker spoke. So, what now? Zara looked at him, her expression unreadable. We take it. Bring it to the Confederation. Study it. Protect it. Riker hesitated. You trust them with it? She was quiet for a moment. No, but I trust myself. And I'm starting to trust you. He met her eyes, serious now. Then, let's do it, together. She nodded, stepped forward, and reached out for the device. The moment her fingers brushed the surface, the rings spun faster. The light inside pulsed. Zara jerked her hand back. It's reacting to me. Is that normal? No, she whispered. It's reading me. The floor trembled slightly. A low hum filled the chamber. Riker raised his rifle, scanning the walls. We've got company. Footsteps echoed from the hallway above. Harsh voices in a language neither of them liked hearing. Rayons, Riker muttered. They followed us. Zara gritted her teeth. They can't take this. We won't let them. Riker moved quickly, positioning himself between Zara and the hallway, his rifle pointed up, ready. Zara secured the device in a containment case on her belt. The first shot came fast, glowing green and deadly. Riker ducked behind a column, returning fire. The rayons stormed in eggs, maybe 7 spreading out along the platform edge. Zara crouched beside him, pulling her own blaster. Left side, they're flanking. I see them. Riker shifted position and dropped one with a clean shot. The battle was tight, brutal. The Rayons were faster than humans, but Riker was smarter. He used the room's structure to his advantage, ducking behind walls and darting through shadows. Zara fought beside him, her training shining through. Then a shot grazed Riker's shoulder. He stumbled, fell hard. Riker, Zara screamed, moving toward him. Still alive, he gasped, gripping his rifle with bloody fingers. Zara turned, her face fierce. She dropped the last 2 rayons with perfect aim, then rushed to Riker's side. He grinned weakly. You're a damn good shot. And you're bleeding, not the first time. She helped him sit against the pedestal. He looked up at her, with something more than pain in his eyes. You could have run, he said. I don't leave people behind. His smile deepened. Neither do I. The artifact glowed brightly on her belt, responding to their closeness. Zara noticed it, but said nothing. The battle was over for now. But something had changed. They were no longer just survivors. They were becoming something. Stronger, together. The chamber was quiet again, except for Riker's labored breathing and the soft hum of the artifact. Zara pressed a bandage against his shoulder, her hands steadier than her heart. He had taken the hit for her, no hesitation, no second thoughts. You should rest, she said, voice low. Riker gave a small smile. We can rest when we're out of here. The blue glow from the artifact pulsed between them, as if listening. It hadn't stopped reacting since they fought side by side. Even now, as it sat in its case, it vibrated softly against Sarah's hip. "I don't think it wants to be locked away," she said. "It's tech," Riker replied. "It doesn't want anything." Zara looked at him. "You really believe that? After what we just saw?" Riker didn't answer right away. He stared at the artifact with a thoughtful expression. "It felt something when we fought. When you grabbed it. When you stood between me and those slavers." Zara nodded. "It's old, ancient, but not dead. It's waiting. For what?" "For a connection," she said. "The progenitors didn't just build tools. They built bridges between minds. Between species." Riker sat forward slowly. "You think it's looking for someone to bond with?" "I think it might have already chosen." Zara didn't say it out loud. But the way the artifact glowed when Riker approached it, the way it responded to his touch, told her enough. The energy signatures were unlike anything she'd seen. It had identified something in him. Maybe strength, maybe emotion. Riker looked down at his shaking hands. "What happens if I let it bond?" "You could gain power, speed, healing, insight, or awe. It could tear your mind apart," she said, voice tightening. "Human brains weren't designed for this level of contact. Not even mine was." They both sat in silence. Then a sound broke the stillness. A low rumble, distant at first, then closer, heavy footsteps, weapons charging. Zara stood up fast, aiming her blaster at the corridor. "They're back." Riker struggled to his feet, ignoring the pain. "We can't fight again, not like this." Zara looked at the exit. "There's no other way out. We're trapped." He met her eyes. "Then I have to try." "No." Riker reached into the case and pulled out the artifact. The rings spun faster, sensing his touch. Light burst between his fingers, not painful but powerful, alive. "Riker, stop." Zara moved to pull it from his hands, but he stepped back. "I'm not letting them take you," he said. "Or this. You don't know what it will do." He smiled faintly. "I know what I have to do." With that, he pressed the artifact against his chest. It happened in seconds. The rings collapsed inward. The core melted into his skin. His body jerked violently, eyes glowing with electric blue. Fire. The light spilled from his veins, crawling under his skin like liquid lightning. Zara ran to him, grabbing his shoulders. "Riker, say something." He gasped, then steadied. His eyes opened. They still glowed, but now they were calm. Clear. "I'm okay," he said. Zara stared at him. "You don't look okay." Riker raised his hand. The air shimmered around. His palm, a piece of broken metal nearby, lifted gently from the ground and hovered. "I feel everything," he whispered. "The walls, the air, you." Zara stepped closer, unsure whether to be afraid or amazed. "Is it controlling you?" "No," he said. "It's helping me." Then the corridor exploded in a shower of sparks. A dozen Rian soldiers charged in, led by a towering brute in black exo-armor commander Vale. His voice boomed across the room. "Surrender the artifact, or die with it." Riker stepped forward. "Try me." The raiders opened fire. Plasma. Bolts filled the air. Riker lifted his hand. A wave of blue energy pulsed from his body, forming a shield that shimmered like glass. The blasts hit and disintegrated. He didn't flinch. Zara watched, breath caught in her chest. He wasn't just resisting, he was reshaping the battlefield with a sweeping motion. Riker sent a shockwave across the floor. Raiders flew back, crashing into the walls. Vale stood firm, snarling, raising a heavy plasma cannon. Zara raised her blaster beside Riker. "We end this together." He nodded. She opened fire, covering Riker as he charged. Vale's cannon roared, but Riker dodged it like the air itself guided him. In a flash, he was in front of the Rian commander. A single burst of light exploded from Riker's fist. Vale collapsed, his armor crushed, weapon fried. The chamber went silent. Zara lowered her weapon slowly. "Is it over?" Riker stood still, glowing softly. "For now." But she saw the tremble in his hands, the strain in his eyes. "You're burning too fast," she said. Riker nodded. "The more power I use, the more it takes from me." Zara stepped close and gripped his arm. "Then stop. You've done enough." Riker looked at her, something deep in his gaze. "Not until I know you're safe." For a moment, they stood in the fading light of the artifact's glow. Two warriors, different species, bound by survival and something else neither of them had expected, not just survival, something that felt a lot like belonging. Riker collapsed to one knee, bracing himself on the pedestal as the last of the Rian forces fled into the ruins. His body glowed faintly, the light from the artifact pulsing in waves under his skin. Sweat beaded on his forehead. His breaths came sharp, fast, and uneven. Zara rushed to him, kneeling beside him. "You need to let it go. It's killing you." He shook his head slowly. "Not yet. We're not safe. More will come. You said it yourself, the more you use the power, the more it drains you." He smiled faintly, eyes still lit with blue fire. "Yeah? Turns out ancient alien tech doesn't come with a warning label." She reached for the spot where the artifact had melted into his chest. The skin was hot to hot. The light inside, it flickered with each beat of his heart. "Then we disconnected," she said. "Now." "I don't know how," Riker whispered. "It doesn't want to leave me. Then we make it." Zara grabbed her scanner and adjusted the frequency. "You're not dying here, Riker. Not like this." As she worked, the walls around them shivered. Something deep in the structure groaned goes of the progenitor design responding to the artifact's power. Riker winced again, teeth clenched. Zara tuned the scanner to the frequency she remembered from before, the soft, balanced hum the artifact made when it first reacted to them. She needed to match it. She needed to speak to it, not with words but through harmony. The scanner vibrated, pulsed, then let out a single high-pitched note. Riker arched back, chest glowing like a small sun. And then suddenly it stopped. The light went out. The artifact rose from his chest, spinning slowly in the air like a living thing hesitating to say goodbye. Then, as if accepting her plea, it floated into Zara's containment unit and sealed itself inside with a soft hum. Riker gasped as if coming up from underwater. His eyes returned to normal, his hands trembling. Zara caught him before he could fall. "You idiot," she said softly. "You really were going to die for this." "For you," Riker whispered, leaning against her. "And maybe for something bigger than both of us." She helped him sit against the base of the pedestal. His color was returning. His body was weak, but alive. He looked up at her. "Did we win?" Zara smiled, brushing dust off his forehead. "We did." The artifact sat still now, quiet, but not dead. It was waiting againly, this time not to be used, but to be understood. Later, when they made it out of the ruins, the twin sons of Tarsius IV were beginning to rise again. The landscape stretched. In all directions, glowing orange and gold, Riker's ship still stood, scorched but functional. They climbed inside together. Zara sent a coded message to Confederation Command Brief and carefully worded. She told them Krell's forces had been stopped, the artifact secured, the mission successful. She didn't mention Riker's bond with the device, or what it had shown them. That was their story to protect. Inside the ship, Riker sat by the viewport, a mug of strong synth coffee in hand. His body ached, but he was healing. Slowly, Zara joined him, sitting close enough to feel his warmth through the armor she'd finally convinced him to remove. "You're quiet," she said. "Just thinking," he answered. About he looked at her. "You, this us." She raised an eyebrow. "Us, I'm not blind," he said with a grin. "And I'm not stupid. Something happened in there. Something real." Zara looked out the window, then back at him. "On Nova, we don't bond easily. Our kind keeps walls high, cold, efficient, and yet you stayed," Riker said. "When you could have run, you didn't. Neither did you." They were silent a moment longer. Then Zara reached for his hand. "So, what now?" Riker laced his fingers with hers. "We bring the artifact somewhere safe. We tell the story the way it needs to be told. Then we figure out what comes next." Together, he looked into her eyes. "Yeah, together." Outside the ship, the first light of a new day spilled over the shattered planet. Inside, two warriors and humans sat hand in hand, no longer strangers, no longer alone. Whatever waited in the stars next, they would face it side by side, not because they had to, because they chose to.